Tune in to the Real Estate Roundup with the River Counties Association of Realtors. Join us every last Thursday of the month at 12 p.m. on Fiesta 99.1 and every Saturday at 8:30 a.m. on the Mix 104.1 as we explore the latest in real estate. Whether you're buying, selling, or just love real estate, don't miss our expert advice and exclusive insights. So grab a cup of coffee, sit back, and let's explore the dynamic world of real estate in our vibrant River Counties community. Catch Real Estate Roundup and make your property dreams a reality.
Welcome to the River Counties Real Estate Roundup. I am Lisa Calfee with the Source Real Estate Group, your host today, joined by
Linda Carter with the Source Real Estate Group.
And we are here today, and we're going to share a little bit of the comedy that goes along with being a real estate agent. Over the last 12 years that I've been in real estate, I have seen some crazy things happen. And Linda, you have too.
Yes, I have.
So we're going to share a little bit of the crazy, quirky things that we experience in real estate. You know, we work with the public on a daily basis, and that can be unpredictable. And so we see some wild and crazy stuff. But before we get started, let's go ahead and share our contact information. I am, again, Lisa Calfee with the Source Real Estate Group, licensed in Tennessee and Georgia for all your real estate needs. And I can be reached at 423-802-0875.
And I'm Linda Carter with the Source Real Estate Group. I'm licensed in Tennessee and Georgia as well. My number is 423-505-7969.
All right, so I think I'll go ahead and start with a way back when I first got licensed, and it was my first buyer client that I had ever had, and she and I were looking for her and her husband a home, and he was not able to come into town. They were moving from out of town to look at anything, and she and I had looked at maybe 4 or 5 already. So we go to look at this house, and it's kind of in a little bit of a questionable area, I'll say. And I open the front door, and all of a sudden, I hear a voice from the back of the house.
Oh.
So she and I, armed with our cell phones, for some reason, we thought that the best thing to do was, and this was a vacant house, so we thought maybe they're squatters, we need to be careful. We didn't back up and back out of it and shut the door. We just thought, okay, we're going in. And our phones were our big ammunition. So in all of our, wiseness, we decide to get her husband on the phone on speaker. Now, of course, he's not even in the state. I'm not really sure what he was going to do other than maybe call the cops if we needed him. But we walk in and we're like, she's right behind me and we are tag teaming. We get in there, we walk to the back of the house, and it was the alarm system saying that the front door had opened. And I mean to tell you, my heart dropped. I thought, we have walked into this house and there's going to be somebody squatting in this house and they're just going to be our demise. And so that was one of my first moments where I was kind of like, okay, yeah, we can laugh this off. And she and I both, we laughed it off, but we were brave. We thought
with your cell phone.
With our cell phones in hand. So how about you? What's a good one for you?
Oh my goodness. So way back when, I was showing a house to a client, and it was a female client, no man involved. She was buying by herself. And we go into a house. We got through the living room, started down the hallway, and here come a guy in his towel. He had just been out of the shower. And I was like, oh, excuse me. I was so embarrassed, but I think my client was more embarrassed because he's running around here in his towel. So I was like, okay. And then I've walked in on people in the bed, just asleep, and we're there to show houses. I think that the level of people that are in their towels or asleep, or one time we were opening a door and a lady came with just a shirt on, no pants, and jerked the door open, wanting to know what I was doing there. And at that point, what do you say? I mean, I'm here to show your house, but obviously she didn't get the memo that I was coming. So I'm like, okay, I don't think that I would ever make that mistake, but that's some of the things that I think is strange.
Yeah, and it is because we have to, as agents, we have to book appointments to go see these houses. And so, it's supposed to get to the seller that, hey, someone's coming And I recently had one that was mortifying. I legitimately booked a showing for what I thought was the next day. It was a Friday night, booked it on Saturday, get to the house, showing the house, seller walks in, what are you doing in my house? And I'm like, I'm here to show it. I had an appointment. I show her my phone. I had accidentally booked it for the following Saturday.
Oh, no.
And I was mortified. So mistakes happen. We make mistakes. But it is kind of alarming when you walk into a house and you know, like somebody's there and they're asleep and they don't even have a clue that somebody's coming into the house. And, you know, sometimes it might be the kids and, you know, they didn't get the memo from the parent that they were coming in there, and you hope you don't walk in on something crazy.
Yes.
And so, yeah, that's one. One other one that I had that I thought was just kind of like comical was that I had a house that I was asked to come and look at to sell, and it was a berm house. And so a berm house is a house that is covered by the earth on at least 3 sides. So this house is basically an underground house. It happened to be a pretty awesome, kind of cool little house, but the lady that lived there, she had unfortunately passed, and she had done most of the work herself. And it was pretty interesting and cool house. And so I thought, you know what? I don't know if I'm going to be able to sell this house or not. You know, it's unusual. I don't know if a bank's going to lend money on it. So I'm selling it, and it has like, I don't know, 70 acres with it or some crazy amount of acreage. And I ended up selling the house, and I go out there, and the guy that was living there was the son. And when I went out there, you know, he seemed nice enough. I mean, he seemed harmless, but he's like, hey, let me show you the property. Just jump in my truck. And I'm thinking, I'm jumping in this guy's truck. I sure hope that I'm not playing with my life here. But then I wasn't prepared to go walk property. So I had open-toed shoes on, which I would normally not do if I was going to go walk property. I usually, you know, will keep some boots or something in the back of my car. Well, we get out there and we're traipsing around, and the thought comes to my head, because it's in the summer, man, I really hope that I do not get chiggers out here running around in the woods with open-toed shoes on. 2 days later, what happens? I am covered from head to toe in chiggers from not having on closed-toed shoes. And I think I had like shorter pants on as well. And so I like just the calamity that happens when you're a real estate agent. Same house, different day. It had been raining, and I had to go unlock a gate every time I went in there. Well, it was, I mean, like probably 4 or 5 inches of mud to get out of my car. And I had my boots, but I opened the car door and I'm like, I'll just get out and go walk around, get my boots and put them on to walk the rest of the way. Oh no, I put one foot down and I sink in the mud. So then I'm crawling to the back of my SUV, crawling to the back to get my boots, put them on, and get out to go and, you know, walk up here to show this property and open this gate. And if people in the public could see some of the stuff that we do, like crawling through my SUV to get to the back to get those. And I thought, if anybody sees me doing this, they're going to think I am just absolutely lost my mind. But yeah, so that house had lots of fun times with it, and I got some chiggers as a door prize for that one.
Nice. Well, I think one time we were showing a house, and my clients are there. We're unlocking a lock, and all of a sudden a unmarked police car comes, and 3 guys get out. They come up there. They're police officers, and we're like, are you here as friends, or are you here as the police? And they were there as the police. So when we opened the door, we were like in the middle of opening the door when they came up, and the homeowners were there. And I said, well, maybe we'll come back in an hour when you get this straightened out and show your house. And he said, yes, that would be great.
Oh, my word. Were they there when you went back?
No, everybody was gone. I guess they got it figured out.
Or they got carted off.
Or they were gone. Well, everybody was gone, so we showed the house.
Oh, my goodness. That's hilarious. Well, and we always know that, you know, sometimes just like wild things happen. And again, kind of early in my career, and this one's not necessarily comical, but weird things can happen. We never say, hey, we're definitely closing on this until you get that day at the closing table, because you don't know what can happen in 24 hours time.
No.
Like weird things happen. But I had this little house for sale, and, little sweet older lady, and we are on our way to closing within the next 48 hours. And I get a phone call that her daughter's calling me, telling me that her mother had a stroke, and she was the one that was going to have to sign. So I immediately go into, what are we going to do? What can we legally do? Mm-hmm. Because we have a family getting ready to move into this house, and she has to sign, but she has to be of sound mind in order to sign. Like she cannot sign for something and legally it process if she is not of sound mind. So I'm talking to the daughter, and she's like, I'm going to talk to the doctors because I think that she's probably cognitively in a good state where she could sign, but she's going to be in the hospital for a few days. And so she was in another state at that point. We already had a system set up for a notary to be able for her to sign, but we ended up getting a note from the doctor because we had to have that proof that she was okay, because now we had knowledge that there was something wrong with her capacity. So we get a note from the doctor, and the doctor gives us a note that she's okay to sign. And then we have the notary go to the hospital to sign, and they have to sign in front of the notary, and we're able to close it. But you just never know what's going to happen. I have had an experience where one of the parties was in jail, and we had to figure that out, and we had to figure out, okay, well, his name is on the deed. How's he going to sign? And lo and behold, you can go anywhere with a notary, apparently, that they will allow, and you can sign remotely from afar or from a cell. So
Wherever.
just whatever has to happen if you need to sell a property. So yeah, it's a wild ride sometimes just getting to the closing table.
Yes, and you do not know if you're going to get there or not. I had early in my career and did not know how to handle it. We were going for a final walkthrough, and the client realized that a blueberry bush was not on the property.
A blueberry bush.
A blueberry bush. And she thought that, now there were 3 or 4 other blueberry bushes, but this one blueberry bush was not on there, and she was not buying it. And I offered to buy her another one and plant it over here, but that was not it. She was upset, and the seller was packed up in a Penske, moving across the world here. And I felt so bad for her because there was nothing I could do. I mean, she was not purchasing that house because that blueberry bush was not there. And I called my broker at the time. Stephen Sharp was awesome. And I cried on his shoulder. And then I called you and cried on your shoulder. What do I do? How do I fix this? There was no fixing it. The blueberry bush just topped her. It topped her. I couldn't believe it.
She had to have that blueberry. It must have been some really good blueberries out of that bush.
The line just took a little right, and it didn't encompass that one blueberry bush. So
it's wild, some of the things that happen. And I had someone one time who had placed an offer and already had the offer accepted on one of my listings, and they did their home inspection, and there were, in the crawl space, which obviously it's a crawl space, it's very difficult to keep a crawl space contained from little critters that can squeeze through any small little tiny hole. And there were a few droppings, and they had to bail because they couldn't live in a house where an animal had been present. And I was like, well, maybe it wasn't like in the house, but okay. I mean, that's one way to look at it. So there you have it. Yep, that's fine. That's fine. And
I don't know how you would find a house that probably had never had anything in it,
or no signs of any animal ever being present. But yeah, interesting. Sometimes I think it's interesting excuses to be like, oh no, but wait, we really don't want to buy this house after all.
Yes.
But yeah, it's definitely a calamity of errors.
Yes.
Sometimes. Well, I remember some of the times whenever you are going to show a house or whatever, you're going based on pictures that you've seen online. And we've all had, if you've looked at houses, you've all had the experience where the pictures are very misleading.
Yes.
And went to go and show this house, and turns out it did not have a wall. An exterior wall was missing, and there was just a tarp. And the renters were there when we went to go and see it. And they didn't even get up from laying on the couch. It was interesting. And we walked to the back only to find a tarp with no wall. And we're like, oh, okay. And it was advertised as a good investment property. I'm like, well, yeah, might want to invest a little money into a wall to protect it from the rain and the cold. I mean, just saying, that might be a useful thing to have on a house. But sometimes you go, and sometimes in the pictures it looks great, and you get there and you go, oh, well, yeah, this room that looked like it was a 10 by 12 is a 5 by 5. It's like not at all what you think. And sometimes you can see pictures that are terrible that were taken with a cell phone, and you get there and you're like pleasantly surprised. Wow, this is really a great house. It just didn't have great pictures to show it off. So yeah, that's definitely one. Any other fun stories that you have?
Oh, let's see. Oh, this is probably the best story I have. One time I was showing a lake property, and I got there ahead of time, turned all the lights on, unlocked the door, and they said they would be like 15 minutes late. Well, it was a beautiful lake property. I said, that's fine. I was outside walking around thinking they were going to come up the driveway. Well, they didn't. They came by boat. And so I was already kind of surprised that they came by boat because they didn't say anything, but that's whatever. So it ended up being a husband, wife, and a third person. And the wife came up and said, they'll be here in a few. And we went on in the house and started looking. And that was all okay until the husband and the friend came in. And I don't know really how I could say that, they smelled like marijuana really strong, like they had just took a minute before they got into the house. And I thought, okay, whatever. So we start, going through the house. And he kept pulling his pants up, and I couldn't really figure out what was going on, but he just kept pulling his pants up. And all of a sudden, he throws his hands up, and he says, wait. And he took his pants off.
Like, just pants were just bothering him.
Took his pants off, and I thought, okay, we're done here, because I already had a really bad feeling anyway. And if you're just going to take your pants off
in somebody's house,
I can't. I'm thinking, if you're taking your pants off in somebody else's house, I don't need to be here. So I was like, okay, well, we're done here. So let's just get on out of the house and leave. We were not finished with the tour, but I really quit that because I was so normally. So I have a license to carry, so normally I do. But since I was outside, I didn't. And I felt very scared. I couldn't. And no phone service.
Oh, yeah.
So anyway, I finally got them out of the house, locked the client's house down, left. And I told my husband, I was like, you're not going to believe this.
Yeah,
I mean, some things, I couldn't believe he took his pants off.
Oh, my gosh. It's crazy, some of the things. And that brings me to, another topic of, as real estate agents, we try to prepare our sellers and our buyers for the best things that we can prepare them for. And there is a level of, risk when you're showing a house. On our part as an agent, we kind of can walk into this sometimes blindly. If it's someone who just found us online, they called us up and said, hey, I'd really like to see this house. And we can only do so much like creeping on our part to figure out, is this a legitimate person? And, we ask people to prove that they have the ability to buy and things like that. But it really is a little bit of a risk for us. Yes. Because we are meeting people a lot of times that we have no clue who they are. And then a lot of times, they're perfectly fine and everything is great. And I think there's only been maybe one time when I truly was scared and I thought, something doesn't jive. Like there's something about the story that's not jiving. And then, it just gave me a very uneasy feeling. But I watch way too many crime shows, and so I like went into like crime mode. I'm like, okay, start telling them about your family and start talking about personal things so that they don't see you as a target, but maybe they see you as a person. And I felt this uneasy feeling standing in the kitchen of that house. So I just started talking and backing up to the back door thinking, I'm not going to run because that's never going to work out well for me. And so I thought at least I could get out of this door and get a little bit of a head start. But something told me, and we always trust our gut, trust your intuition, trust your gut that something's not right. And so we do that. As real estate agents, when we are in the middle of a transaction, we might something in your gut might say something's not right. I need to check on this, and we follow that, and that's what a good agent's going to do is really follow their gut instinct. But we tend to work with our clients and make them family and work with them, and at the end, we never end. We're always back in touch. We're always talking. We're always there for our clients when they need something in the future, whether it's a referral for a painter or a handyman or something like that. And so we do establish relationships.
We do.
And we do keep those relationships going and strong. And so let's pause for a minute and share our contact information again.
Okay, I'm Linda Carter with the Source Real Estate Group, 423-505-7969.
And Lisa Paget Calfee with the Source Real Estate Group. And we are co-owners of this firm. We are 19 agents strong at our firm. We're a boutique firm located over in Ooltewah at Cambridge Square. And we are absolutely happy to talk to agents that are interested in finding more out about what we have to offer, or if you're interested in a real estate career. But certainly we would love to help you if you're interested in buying or selling. So one of the ways that we make sure that our sellers feel like they're protected is making sure that we take steps when we list a property to kind of let them know, hey, you're going to have people coming through your house, and it's not going to be me that's going to be bringing them. 90% of the time, it's going to be other licensed agents that we hope are vetting people before they come into your house. But I'm going to communicate with you about those appointments. I'm going to make sure it's okay with you. If you're homesick from work, maybe send me a quick text message and say, hey, I'm homesick from work today. I can't have any showings. Yes. There's always got to be that line of communication. What things do you tell your sellers to kind of do to take some safety precautions in their home when they're listing it?
So, I always correspond with my sellers. I don't let we have a showing service that we can use to book our appointments and confirm them. And I do all that on my own because I want to make sure that we don't have those bloopers like can actually happen. So I do that. I always tell my clients to take the personal things that they can out of their house. I mean, if you take your personal things away, you don't run a risk of somebody, you'd hate to think, but taking your jewelry or,
right.
You don't want to do that. And then if you take your personal things out, if you're going to list a home, then somebody can see theirself there and not you and your family.
Yeah. So. And always make sure that the heirloom items that you don't want, people bring their kids on showings. And you know what? It may be little ones that might be fascinated by your, Ming Dynasty vase that you don't want broken. So those kinds of things we want to have out of reach, because if children are there, we don't want the children to accidentally, fall into it or knock it over and break it, and then you're heartbroken.
Yes.
So heirlooms, we want to put those away.
Medicines.
Always medicine. That's something people don't think about.
Mm-hmm.
Any type of prescription medication. One, for privacy's sake.
Yes.
Put it away and out of sight. And two, we hate to say it, but there are people that are medicine seeking, and we don't want to give an opportunity for someone to slip that in their pocket.
Right. And people should not be going into your nightstands or your dressers or things like that. So hide it there. Hide it in the places that are personal that they're not going to be looking in.
And your jewelry needs to be put up and locked up. A lot of people have cameras in their homes now.
Yes.
And we generally let our buyers know ahead of time there may be cameras. So, if you have strong feelings about a house, wait till we leave. It's kind of like one of those episodes of HGTV where they tape everything and then the people are mortified by others' opinion of their house. Well, your house is not going to be for everybody. You know, they might come in and go, "Oh my gosh, I hate this color," and it offends you because that's your favorite color. Yes. We don't want that to happen. So, I've had sellers that have called me and been like, they're standing on the front porch and I can hear them through my Ring camera and they said they're going to make an offer. It's going to be this much. And then I'm like, quit listening, because when you're listening, then, you might get really disappointed if they don't follow through.
Yes.
And there's no offer that comes out of that little conversation. But jewelry is a big one. Make sure that if you have a jewelry box, it's kind of like an invitation. So put your jewelry box away for when you're going to be selling your house. And I had a client one time that was a police officer. And so, he did have quite a collection of handguns. And I said, let's put these out of sight, and ammunition.
Yes.
Oh, those things are valuable. Put that out of sight, lock it up. Don't have it where someone can access it.
No.
I don't know of a time in 12 years of real estate where I've ever had a seller report to me that something was stolen.
No, I haven't either. But on my sellers, I prep them to do what I think is the right way to do
Absolutely.
it. Like hide it. Don't take the chance. Why take the chance?
Don't take the chance. I had an agent call me one time, and I had been showing a gentleman that had top level security clearance with the government because he had a job that required that. And we had been to their house the day before, and she called me in an absolute panic at 7:00 in the morning. And she says, the homeowner's wife says that her wedding ring is missing. And I said, well, I assure you, we were together the whole time. Furthermore, they had cameras. They could see everything. And turns out it was really kind of a weird story. And I call my client, and he's like, listen, I said, I'm just making you aware this is what the phone call was, but obviously I am not saying that you have done anything. I just want to make you aware in case you get a phone call. And he's like, well, I have top levels, government security clearance. There's no way that I would do anything like that. And I said, I absolutely know that. And so it turns out the agent, or the actual detective, calls me about a week later, and he says, I'm calling you because I have to, but we're pretty sure we know what's happened. And apparently it was an insurance fraud situation. And I was like, oh my word. Furthermore, why would someone leave their not wear the wedding set and leave it out on their dresser when you have people coming through the house? I mean, you would think that would occur to someone. Let's not do that. That's a little bit risky, but selling your house does not have to be hard.
No.
Selling your house can absolutely be easy, and your things can be safe. And we want you to leave your house decorated and ready for people to come in and see it, but it is good to take some of the real personal items out. I always say, and this is one thing that just occurs to me, if you have a calendar up on the refrigerator that tells where you're going to be with your kids and all the activities you're going to be, take it down. It's just not safe to tell the whole world where you're going to be and at what time and what day of the week. And just for safety's sake, I think it's important that you take those kinds of things down.
Well, a lot of times I've been showing buyers, and they'll see a picture of the family and say, oh, I know that's preacher so-and-so, or I know this I know this. And mail, I mean, people are nosy. I have had clients pick up the mail that was on the counter, and I'm like, hey, we can't touch their mail,
right.
but they're nosy to see who lives here. And they say, oh, so-and-so lives here. I've seen their mail. I know them,
Yeah, absolutely.
So take you out of the picture and let them see your house.
That's right. So. And we're just nosy enough agents that we are going to ask you lots of questions when we're coming to talk to you about buying or selling, because we want to know all the stuff that we need to know to make it work for you. Yes. So it is a great time to buy, and it's a great time to sell. I had someone tell me the other day they were going to wait until the market crashes. Well, you're going to be waiting a very long time, because there is no indication that is in our future, but we would love to help you in any way. And so we're going to sign off with one last time of telling you how to get a hold of us. Lisa Calfee, 423-802-0875.
Linda Carter, 423-505-7969.
Thanks for joining us today on Real Estate Roundup.
Do you imagine a career with flexibility and limitless income potential? It's possible by becoming a Realtor. The River Counties Association of Realtors, located right here in Cleveland, Tennessee, is ready to help you unlock your potential. We're your go-to resource for guiding you to obtain your Tennessee real estate license. We're more than just realtors. We're a vital part of our community. Partnering with local charities, we work tirelessly to make a difference. Join the River Counties Association of Realtors today, where your career can thrive and community can too. Visit rivercounties.com or call 423-476-5912. Your new path awaits.